Hey guys, so again, it's late. Ignore my appearance. I don't have any makeup on. I don't even have my glasses on tonight. I'm literally in bed. After I finish this video, I'm going to get it ready to upload and I'm going to crash. So I'm all bundled up in my bed. I got a message from someone, a comment. It's actually a while back, but I just recently received it. If you go back and you look at my videos, you'll see that I've got a couple videos when they're talking about my thyroid. And in one of them I mentioned I had a thyroid biopsy and whatnot. So someone asked me to do a video explaining my experience with a thyroid biopsy. So I'm going to do that tonight. I'm just going to dive right on in. I did have a thyroid biopsy. It was about, it was in 2013 or 2000, it was in 2014, maybe closer to 2015. Between 2014 and 2015, and I know it was in June. Because I do have a thyroid nodule, and it had slightly grown, so they wanted to do a biopsy, and it did come back that it was negative, for like cancer negative. So initially going into the biopsy, I mean, obviously I was nervous. I suffer from depression and severe anxiety. My depression is not as bad as my anxiety. Over the past few years, I have learned how to keep my anxiety a little bit at bay most of the time. So, going into it, the day of the biopsy, I was nervous. I mean, who wouldn't be, obviously. But I was okay because my husband was with me. My husband is like my comfort blanket. He's like, as long as he's with me, I know I'm okay. Like, he helps my anxiety a lot. He knows how to keep me calm and, talk me through things and whatnot. Like, when I had my C-section with the twins, I'm actually going to do a video on, because I was filming videos when I first found out I was pregnant, and I had a really rough pregnancy with my twins. So I'm going to do a whole video on that. But, like, when I had my C-section with my twins, when they, he couldn't be in the room with me when I had the spinal tap, and I knew that. But, like, I didn't want to accept that. I needed him there. And I was freaking out the whole time. And then after they got my spinal tap set, like, I just kept saying, I want my husband, I want my husband, I want my husband. Like, they were trying to get everything else ready before he could come in, and I was freaking out. So, going into the biopsy, my husband had taken off work that day, so I was calm because I knew he was there. Like I said, he's like my comfort blanket. So I knew he was going to be there with me, and I knew, it was going to be okay because he was there. So I was pretty calm. We went and got breakfast that morning, and, everything was good. Up until they came out to the waiting room to call me back, and my husband got up to come back with me, and the nurse was like, "No, sorry, you can't come in." My anxiety level went from here to here because I was like, "What? Why can't he come with me?" And they were like, "Because I wasn't thinking, obviously, maybe I should have. Maybe most people would have known. It's like a surgical procedure, basically. You're not getting put to sleep or anything, but it's like a surgical procedure, so it's a completely sterile environment, so only myself and the doctors and nurses can be in there." So I instantly started freaking out. Tears started flowing. I was like, "No, I can't do this. I need him there. He's got to be there. He's got to hold my hand. No. Freaking out. So the doctor come in, and I was like, "I'm not doing this. I can't do this. My husband has to be there. It has to be here. I can't do this." So the doctor decided to give me just a little bit of something for my anxiety, not enough. Like, I had a couple years, well, more than a couple years ago, in probably 2010, I had a endoscopy. I might be pronouncing that wrong, where they stick a camera down your throat. And when I had that done, they gave me something to relax me, and it was a lot. And for an endoscopy, you have to be awake also, because you have to swallow the camera down, basically. And the nurse kept having to be like, "Wake up," like, because I kept wanting to drift off to sleep, and I couldn't because I had to be awake to swallow. Well, this time, the doctor was like, okay, we'll give you a little something to calm you down. It's going to be okay. It's not a long procedure. You will be okay. So they gave me little something for my anxiety. I mean, like I said, it wasn't like when I had my endoscopy where I was like nodding off. I was completely awake and completely aware of what was going on. I was just relaxed enough for them to be able to do the procedure. So once they were able to get me relaxed, it really wasn't that bad of a procedure. The worst part was the numbing. So they had to numb on both sides. You can see where my thyroid is abnormal, right in here. So they had to, some of that's fat. That's not all abnormal thyroid. Some of that's fat. Like all that I'm pinching is fat. So they had to numb on both sides. I'm assuming when they numb you, they use like Novocaine. I don't know if that's only for teeth or if it's all the same thing. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. That was the worst part because it burns and the needle feels like it's pinching you. Once the numbing process was over and they said, they let you wait for a few minutes before it gets numb and the procedure starts. After that, it doesn't hurt at all. It's just very uncomfortable. But they take an ultrasound and they ultrasound your neck because they have to find exactly where your thyroid is so that they can get the tissue or whatever off of it. So after that, the worst part is the pressure you feel because you don't feel any pain because you're numb. The pressure is pretty uncomfortable. It's pretty uncomfortable. But that even wasn't the worst part. The most uncomfortable part for me is when the needle is in your neck, you cannot swallow and you cannot talk. They did tell me, if you feel like you absolutely have to swallow, raise your hand and we'll pull the needle out real quick and let you swallow. I was trying to avoid that. I did have to do that once because I was like, oh my god, I've got to swallow. Like, I have to swallow. Like, this overwhelming urge to swallow hit me and I had to swallow. But I was trying to avoid that because, like I said, the pressure from the needle and just in there moving around and trying to get right to the spot that they need, and then it was just super uncomfortable. And the not being able to swallow part, I don't know if that was the worst part for me or if it was just because I knew in the back of my head, okay, you cannot swallow, Tamara. You cannot swallow. If you swallow, like, you cannot swallow. So I think that knowing I couldn't swallow made me want to swallow even more. But it was a very, very quick procedure. After they got the sample, they took it, I was in a room, and there was literally a lab right in the room, literally 2 steps through a door, where they had lab technicians already waiting so that they could get the sample. They have to have an exact amount, or more is fine, but they have to have an exact amount to be able to get an accurate reading. Luckily for me, after the first go, they had enough. They didn't need to come back in and get any more. So like I said, it really was not that bad. This is not going to be a very long video at all. The worst part for me was my anxiety. It just skyrocketed when I found out that my comfort blanket, my husband, could not be in there with me. Once we got past that issue, I was okay, and then the next worst part was the numbing, and the rest of it was just being uncomfortable. It wasn't terrible. It's not something that I would refuse to do again. If in a few years my doctor decides that, hey, maybe we need to do another biopsy, that I'd be perfectly fine with it. I know going into it now what to expect. I know that my husband can't go back with me, so I could take my anxiety medicine, which is something I don't try to take. I try to get through my anxiety issues alone. I don't like taking medicine. I do have it as a backup. But I would know now, okay, I could take one of my anxiety medicines before to so my nerves are kind of relaxed. So yeah, that was it. It wasn't awful. It wasn't fun. It wasn't something that I would